Namaste, it's Leanne Peters here. I'm from templeofbalance.com.au, Temple of Balance on Facebook and Temple of Balance on YouTube, and I'm here to create a space of healing and support that hopefully resonates with you. So thanks for being here today. While you're coming over, I want to send out an extra special welcome to my Temple of Balance patrons, my Pillar of Light family, and all of those of you who support my work through my website. Thank you so much for your support. So thank you. My plan, my intention for the next 10 or 15, 20 minutes is to pull a healing energy card. We'll talk about it, see what it is. Then I'll play my personal drum for a little bit, and then we'll pull another card to go. So that's what I know. What the information and what we're going to talk about and what we're going to do is a mystery right now. So we'll see what comes up in the cards and go from there. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I trust you're well. I trust things are flowing well for you. And I recommend that you take on board what feels right, what resonates and what fits into your life easily, and what makes sense to you and what you've got going on, and let the rest go. So the best healing energy card for the majority of us as we prepare to go into time with the drum is this card here. And it's this. It's Untangling. Untangling, card 60. And it says, it's in the action category. And down here it says to sort out the tangle. So in other words, the messy parts, the tangled up parts of your life. What can you do now to untangle and to sort that out? Can you clear the knots? It highlights anxiety, complication, acknowledge what is a tangled mess within you, within your relationships, within your life. A solution, potential, and freedom does exist. So in other words, it is possible to untangle this mess. And when things are tangled up and messy, we can feel nervous and anxious and things feel complicated and overwhelming. But there is a way it feels that we can tackle or untangle this knot, this mess within us, our relationships, our life. So if you've been feeling this way lately, today maybe, then I trust that you've been led here for a reason. And let's think about how we could untangle. Sometimes it requires our attention to untangle the mess. You know, I think of untangling a shoelace or a rope, that it requires attention so we can figure out which part threads through there and which part goes here and which part's tangled there. So sometimes tangled, messy energy requires our attention so that we can untangle the knot. Now, if it's a very tight, big knot that's been there for a long time, it's probably a mess to try and untangle. So if it's a fairly new knot that we've been distracting ourselves from or avoiding or ignoring the problem, and it's become a bit knotty, then we can maybe turn our focus to the knot and figure out how to untangle things. What do we need to sort out? What do we need to clear in our life or look at more closely in our life? If it's an ongoing tangle that's been tangling and tangling for a long time, sometimes the best thing to do is cut the tangle, cut the mess, to cut it, to clear it, to release it. To imagine if this is a rope and it's just so knotted, it's well worn in the knots and things have been knotting over knots, over knots, over knots, and it's just not something that we can probably undo, then it might be worth cutting it so that we can start afresh in the situation. So sometimes it's about, let's say in a relationship, perhaps if it's a relationship that's had ongoing problems, that's been knot, added to knot, added to knot, added to knot, and we've got this big knotty tangled mess. Sometimes instead of digging up the dirt on things that's happened or how we felt a couple of years ago that we didn't express at the time or whatever it might be, sometimes it's better just to clip it and start afresh. Okay, let's start afresh from here. And if it's a new knot that we've been avoiding, a problem that's been developing that we've been distracting ourselves from, then we could potentially focus on working out a way to untangle things. So just some perspectives to perhaps consider and see where or how this might fit in for you. So what needs untangling and what feels tangled? These are probably really important things to establish as soon as possible if you don't know already. So let's play the drum to support this untangling, this movement of energy that has been blocked, because that's another way of looking at this. Tangled knots can become blockages for us. So it's also potentially about moving this blockage, whether it be through untangling and focus and effort and hard work, or whether it be through releasing, cutting and starting afresh, or something in between. We are clearing a blockage, basically. So by using the drum's sound is moving, as one of our conductors says in band, music is always moving forward. It's never moving backwards. So the movement of the drum as the drum's beating is helping support our forward momentum through whatever we may deem as a blockage or a mess right now, or tangled up within us or our life, our relationships. So playing the drum to help move the energy, whether it be to focus, concentrate on it, or clip it, or move past it, whatever it might be, to help get that energy moving again, to help get us moving again. So are you ready to be revived? Because I get this feeling of revival, of waking us up from a situation that we maybe have been feeling blocked with or tangled up in. Maybe we're in the tangled mess, which would not be ideal. So if you feel you've got tangled knots hanging off you everywhere, then how can you free yourself of that? How can we get the energy moving together today to support your forward movement? So a solution exists, potential is here, freedom exists. So hopefully you're feeling like you can soften any resistance to that, and know that because this is coming up and because you are here, that you are ready to shift this. So I'm going to play the drum. I can't play the drum with my microphone here because it sounds horrible on this microphone. So I'll be unpinning my lapel mic and tucking it away somewhere. So hopefully the drum will still pick up without being too rattly. So I'll do that with the drum. What I recommend that you do with the drum is just listen and let the drum's sound support you. Let it touch you in your body if you need to, if you need it, and just breathe through it. There's nothing you can do wrong. But if you're feeling what I've been talking about, then maybe this is an opportunity too for you to work with the drum and the beats of the drum and your breath to support your movement from here. So I'm going to unclip my microphone and put it away, and I'll talk to you after I've drummed. Enjoy. Okay, so take a nice big breath. And what I was feeling from the drum was, it might sound weird, but I saw us on fire and running on fire to burn away all the knots and blocks around us that show up in our life, in our relationships, in our life in general. And then as we ran with that fire and allowed it to burn all the knots and ropes that we've been tangled up in, like a net that we've been tangled up in somehow, as we allowed all that fire to burn that off, the energy started to settle. It's almost like, when, like a sense of relief after a time of being busy or hectic or overwhelming, or we've had a lot on. And then finally you get to stop and you just breathe this sigh of relief. There is this really deep relief feeling. So maybe look at what you've been carrying and what's been blocking you, that you've been keeping in play, that you've been keeping active within yourself and your life, and maybe your relationships, or likely your relationships too, and how you can clear yourself of those things, maybe through that fire element, if that resonates with you, visualizing that and allowing yourself to move out the other side. So if you just joined in, I was playing the drum with this card in mind, which is card 60, Untangling. So I trust that resonates. Thank you so much. I'm going to pull a card to go in just a moment. Before I do, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button. Please show us some love. Please comment or share if you're inspired to. And if you would love to connect more privately, then please send us a message through our website. Let's see which card we need for what's next. If you'd love to learn more about me and the work I do here at Temple of Balance, please visit templeofbalance.com.au. So the best card for what's next, this is, I'm thinking, like an action card. What do we need to know as we move on from here? How can we keep healing or keep these tangled blocks at bay? This sort of thing. So based on what's come up. And we have this card here for what's next. Rebirth. Look, we've got the fire element too. This is fire. This is card 18 and it's in the rise category. And down here it says, let go. This is funny. Let go of old wounds that are holding you back. Shed that old skin and release. Or if you resonate with the tangled, messy knots, nets, ropes, let go or let go of the old knots, the old tangles, and release. To release is to rebirth. Now, I talked about this, didn't I, about cutting the knots, and in some situations that have become long-standing or become too complicated and very difficult, sometimes it's best to imagine cutting the knots out. Sometimes, my hairdresser days, kids coming in with knots in their hair, like massive knots, like dreadlock sort of knots. And you got no hope in untangling them. So sometimes you just got to cut them out. Sometimes things in our life and things about ourselves, our relationships, sometimes we've just got to cut them out. We've just got to release them. So here it says to release is to rebirth. And this to me feels like cutting that knot, cutting that cord, cutting that problem, and starting afresh. So if you've been called to do that, then maybe it's worth considering. It says strip back the expired, throat healing, and truth. So this illustration this is fire that's burning up. If we are the tree or we are the serpent, and it's burning up and burning away what is not who we truly are. The snake here shedding its skin. The tree here, in Australia we have trees that shed their bark. Bark is shedding. Fire is burning. So releasing, a lot of releasing. So moving forward from here, what do you need to consider releasing and letting go so that you can start afresh, so that you can build something new, so that you can find a blank canvas in front of you and create a new phase or a new chapter or a new part of your relationship. To cut and to release, to cut those knots that I talked about and let go, doesn't necessarily mean that situations come to an end. It can. And if that's what we're fearing and that's why we're holding ourselves tangled up in this knotty mess, then we might want to ask ourselves why. Why do we feel insecure about this thing changing? But to cut these ties doesn't necessarily mean full-on endings and doors closing, but it can. And in some ways, from what I've experienced personally with my healing, sometimes we need to get to the point where we are, I don't know what quite the right word is, maybe willing or accepting or allowing for whatever the outcome might be to be, without trying to control what we think the outcome should be. And sometimes that in itself just closes doors in our life. Sometimes it also reopens doors that have been closing. And sometimes doors are closing and we're trying so hard to prop them open, but they're just not staying open. So sometimes it's just important to let our struggle go and let our hold go so we can let this situation release and freshen up, so that we can stop swimming against the stream. And that is just very exhausting too, to be living that way. So what is not working for you at this time, and what do you need to consider releasing so that you can start afresh? Start afresh. Where does in your life right now starting afresh just sound really, really good? Work, relationships, life, what you're doing, your daily routine. Can you hit the refresh button? And from today, start afresh. It's possible. In fact, every day is an opportunity to start afresh. Every day the sun rises for us. So can you start afresh today? Can you start afresh tomorrow? And see where that new fresh start takes you. So thank you for joining me today. I trust you've enjoyed this connection, and I'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye.